Okay, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Podkarls, produced by Karlshochschule and KOHI Kulturraum. I am Eddie, or Edward, here as your host today with our fabulous guest, Derek. Derek, would you like to introduce yourself to us real quick?
I'll try to do that the best way I know how. So I'm Derek. I'm now 30, just turned 30. Getting
Sorry,
up there.
man. Yeah.
I'm from Connecticut, specifically the place in between Springfield and Hartford, so border of Massachusetts. And I've been here in Karlsruhe for it's coming up on 5 years now. I studied, first I did an introductory year at the Karlshochschule University, and then I completed an intercultural management and communications bachelor degree. And so just finished that up. And yeah, looking forward to what comes next.
How can you describe what you learn in an intercultural communications and management degree?
That's a tough question. I wasn't expecting that one. Basically, for my thesis, for example, I looked at how intercultural, specifically exchange programs, how they function in a university, and what the university, the student, and the hosting university really need to sort of do in order to kind of facilitate a certain level of synergy. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. I compared it to a few different cultural models, and it was a good experience. But I think at Karl's, it's generally what you put into it is what you get out, kind of deal. So it really depends.
Makes me ask, how was your exchange? Because you did an exchange semester, right? I feel like if you write about how effective they are, it was either really, really good or really, really bad. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I did an exchange semester, but I didn't do one of the ones that I was studying. So I was specifically studying ones where when you're on your exchange semester, you potentially get accreditation for participating in community work.
Oh, wow.
So, which is a new and upcoming thing because, universities and I think society in general is starting to realize that, hey, you don't need to just learn in the classroom. You actually get more out of things when you're actually out there in the field doing things that you would actually like to do one day, such as myself. Like I'd like to work in social work and community work and whatnot. So I was looking more at that. Me personally, I was in Vilnius, Lithuania, and it was a great couple months. It was a great university there, and I kind of took a couple of interesting courses. One of them being, I think it was Lithuanians Today and Lithuania Socioeconomic Matters, and it was it was really great course.
Lithuanians Today. That's like a very interesting morning talk show, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I still remember when you came back, there was a fair with all of the people from talking about their exchange and people from North who went to like South Korea or like around the USA, and they had these big posters and all the images of like, look at these cool bridges we saw. And I remember you were standing at a small desk with a bottle of Lithuanian liquor that you brought back, like, this is my takeaway, right?
Yeah, I mean the Lithuanian schnapps, it's really medicinal. But that kind of gets into another topic, and it's like one of the cool things I thought about Lithuania was the level of hospitality. Like, I think the culture is a little bit colder, if I can use that sort of blanket statement, but
colder than Germany.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. Yeah.
Once you're invited in, though, it's super warm, and you get house slippers, and you're open to anything in the fridge or liquor cabinet or anything like that. And it's a super warm community once you're invited in. So
super cool. You got a favorite memory?
Did
you go to any rock shows there or anything?
I didn't actually make it to any rock shows. Ironically, I was in Italy when I wanted to see UFO Mammoth play in Vilnius. And they're from there. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I did make it out a few times and talked to quite a few different people. There's obviously pretty large community of Russian people there. So a lot of the acquaintances I did make were Russian. So, which was cool because, they're also in a kind of like we are here as transplants to Germany or, half German or whatever. They're also in kind of a third space there. So it was cool.
So I know you're big into music in general, right?
Yeah.
That would be, I think that's like the passion we're here to talk about, is kind of exploring new music scenes. How's it been? You've been in Karlsruhe for 4 years now, 5 years?
almost 5 years, like 4.5 now.
How have you found, especially because we're here in KOHI, a local culture center, how have you found the kind of scene here? How does it differ from your hometown?
I mean, from my hometown, well, my hometown's really small, but I guess we can talk about the area a little bit and my experience with it growing up there. Obviously, the area is pretty well known because there's lots of metal bands, hardcore bands that are they're pretty quickly signed on. If they're playing what's relevant at the time, there's scouts that come around, and a lot of people are really focused on getting signed.
Kind of commercializing it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a cool scene. There's lots of great music there. There's underground as well, and there's kind of a festival hippie scene, whatever, going on there as well, which is cool. But in comparison to the experience that I've had here in Karlsruhe, it's just the amount of bands that are booked here is just pretty much, it's really insane. Like, I didn't really think about that before I moved here, because I moved here because of the university. And so then when I got here, I was like, let's look at the concert schedule. And I was like, oh my God, like, let's go. I was really stoked. And so I've seen a lot of bands since I've been here. Obviously haven't made it out to all of them because I've also been working in an Irish pub, Linden's Irish pub.
Wonderful Irish pub.
Yeah, it is.
As an
I have to
Irishman,
give
I
a
can
shout
say,
out.
yeah, for sure. Big shout out to Linden's, big shout out to Anki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my family here. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfair to really compare the two, because in Germany you also have a lot of community and social action that's really supporting a lot of the underground. And I feel like as a starting musician or as a starting up band, you're more supported in Germany and more encouraged than you are, intimidated. I mean, obviously you're still intimidated, but yeah, it's just really encouraged.
Were you kind of surprised when you came here? I mean, it seems like there's a very kind of a system in the US where you're from of like underground band. They're doing what's relevant. They get signed. Here's the next step. Here's the next step. And you kind of always thought that's what the music industry is. Were you kind of like shocked by seeing that it could even be different in Germany? Did it kind of change the way you thought about like?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely changed the way I thought about the music industry in general, and just the whole approach to, being a musician, being an artist, and participating. Even, I think there's some saying that says, if you did, or basically the idea is, if you only did things because you were good at them, then you never pretty much do anything, because there's always somebody better on YouTube that's able to, pick up a guitar and use auto-tune and whatever. But the whole approach, I think, in Germany with a more, or at least in Europe, is with a more social and communal approach, is like, we all have something to say, we all have something to express. Mm-hmm. And so it's making others feel comfortable and, excited to express themselves and get out there and have sort of a community to take part in, because I think that's also something that's important, and it's something that's it's really increasingly important, because everybody's on their, plugged in on their smartphones and internet warriors, and we don't really feel what other people feel anymore. It's kind of fading away. So I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Bit of a Kanye rant there. But.
You go right ahead. I mean, we have an hour. We have to talk about something, right? Do you think the clubs or like the venues kind of in America are more like streamlined, in that you'd really go into a place saying, okay, I'm going to the heavy metal bar, they're going to be heavy metal. I'm going to the thrash bar, it's going to be thrash. Here's the black metal place, I don't go in there because it terrifies me, that kind of thing?
I don't really know too much, because a lot of the venues I've been to have been, in small towns or outside of Boston, or, in Hartford. And I think they're all pretty well mixed together. I think one of the funniest gigs I saw growing up was, we went to this country club in the middle of nowhere, and then it was just straight black metal. Oh. It was just really, it felt kind of out of place, but also very much, I
hope
just
people were
worked.
Still wearing their like polo shirts and stuff. That sounds hilarious.
Yeah, some overalls and a straw hat. And, so
smoking a pipe, maybe.
So it's definitely a little bit more streamlined in Europe, I'd say. But at the same time, I'd say people are pretty nice, and there's no reason to like stay away from certain venues. Yeah, definitely
sense.
not.
I mean, this place though, as an example, KOHI has like everything. You know what I mean? I was wondering if could a place like KOHI kind of exist in the United States that's so kind of built up from the community, about the community, so diverse, and that you'll have slam poetry, then you'll have punk rock, then you'll have, you know, Schlager if we want to, you know. This is this kind of very, very not streamlined society-based place with the donations and subscriptions. Does that happen in the United States? Should that happen more there?
Yeah, I think it definitely should happen more there. I mean, I'm definite that it already does happen in really affluent or progressive cities, or just big cities in general. But I'm basically haven't spent too much time, unfortunately, in bigger cities in the U.S. Could also be fortunate, I'm not really sure. But it's definitely something that needs to happen. And I kind of decided partway through my degree, which would be for generally for cultural training, so training corporations how to make structural changes and change their corporate culture. I kind of decided against that, but I actually decided against that because I realized that, hey, it's actually a possibility for me to do something within the music industry or within the socially kind of supported community, whether that's, after school art classes with adults or, working with school kids or whatever, or working in a venue. So that's kind of like what I'm looking to do. I don't know exactly what title I'm going to, try to pursue or something, but I kind of have a better idea, and I was basically feeling a lot more optimistic about that before this whole ordeal that we're in right now. But we'll see what happens, and I'm pretty optimistic. And I mean, that's probably another one of the reasons why I'm not heading back to the States, is because there's not so much like socially supported sort of movements or communities in the States. So it would be like I have to move to an exact location.
Yeah, it makes sense. You'd have to go to a specific place, whereas, in Germany, kind of wherever you go, there's...
Pretty much. I mean, the plan now is Netherlands, but we'll see what happens with that. So
it's a cool place. It's a cool place. If they spoke a more reasonable language that didn't sound as ridiculous, I would also love to live there,
Yeah, I think that'll be a bit of a hump, but I mean, like if you see it written, then it's like kind of easy coming from German, but I don't know.
I've heard if you speak English, German, and French, then you also get like a degree in Dutch, just as a
That should be good for me,
we should stop. I don't want to make fun of. This is where we go viral, where podcast host defends an entire nation's language or something. Yeah. Have you got a favorite concert memory since you've been here? And if you can make it a KOHI concert, then I'm not forcing you. I mean, but
let us see. I mean, I really did like Alex Skolnick Trio.
Yeah.
That we actually saw together. And Alex Skolnick is the guitarist from Testament, correct?
Yeah.
And so we saw them in here, and it was super intimate, great show, and got to hang out with them a bit afterwards and go next door.
Yeah. And we're talked to him about Bukowski for about 30 minutes. It was very pretentious, but sure.
I don't know if I was part of that conversation. I don't know if I want to be.
He's just so real, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a few shows in here, and of course, Eddie hosts the story nights, so that's been pretty great. Spoken at a couple of those, and it's a good opportunity to kind of put the phone down and tell a story from your memory as you remember it, and because it's just more of an intimate thing when you tell something from a subjective point of view. And it's been
outside of KOHI, any shows or festivals maybe that you've been to where you got the feeling like this wouldn't happen in America, this is so European right now, this could only be happening in like this place in the world right now?
Well, I've actually only been to one festival, and that was also Tom from KOHI was with us in just outside of Prague, like an hour east of Prague, in Czech Republic, and that was really great. Because of the community there, the atmosphere. I mean, people were just super nice and respectable. It wasn't like what I've heard about certain festivals in Germany where people are just kind of assholes, and they don't really respect other people. And the camping area was totally quiet at night. I remember we were having a conversation. Maybe it was 1 a.m. or something, and this guy came outside and said, "You guys need to shut up because everybody's trying to sleep here." And I was just like, "That's crazy."
Yeah.
But it was also just really great because people were about the music and they were about respecting each other. And I think the motto of the festival is something about being tolerant of other people and respectful. And also the price is really great for the amount of bands that you see that you'd probably never get to see all together. Because there's a lot of bands that are, they're European. A lot of great metal comes out of Europe, surprise, surprise. And they would just generally very rarely make it over to the US. Because if you're going to make it over to the US, you're going to do a US tour, and that's a lot of organization. So
makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and also, if you've got a great scene here with a lot of culture centers and stuff, and these kind of local shows, then you don't really need to make that big flight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're probably going to get booked if you're like, if you call up somebody in Karlsruhe and you're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, I want to play a show.
So yeah,
that's good. So how has your outlook on what you wanted to do changed since your time at the Karls? What's like your time at the Karls kind of done to you in terms of, this is what I believe, this is what I feel like, these are my kind of goals and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I could probably talk a long time about that, but
well, go for it, we have the time.
So basically, since I started at the Karls, obviously, like, the whole learning process is not something that I see, like, you pass this class and then you just make your way through school and you're gradually becoming more smart or intelligent or whatever, knowledgeable. It's kind of, I see it more like a path, and, we're all on our own kind of path to learn more about things we're curious about. Mm-hmm. And so we're always curious about something different at a different time. It's not dictated to us on a class schedule. Obviously, we do have to pay attention in class and kind of take that to heart and really try to do well, obviously. But I've always seen it as kind of like a journey. You might go home today and Google something about crocodiles because it was just what was on your mind. Yeah. But that kind of journey that I kind of went through in my own personal life was definitely, I kind of went into the whole thing like that sounds like a really great major. I'm really interested in that. But I wasn't necessarily, at the end of the day, too interested or motivated to go into what somebody typically does after that degree, mm-hmm. which would be intercultural training, like I talked about earlier. And so I kind of gradually started to look around in the music scene here and just the way that everything is supported and what kind of community we have here, at least in Karlsruhe. And I kind of decided that I wanted to do something more in the line of what I'm interested in and what I have a passion for. And so, I'm looking to do more something in, like I said earlier, like maybe sort of booking or, cultural work. So, I mean, I guess it's probably changed a lot, and I don't know if I've changed a lot, but I guess I have. I don't know. It's kind of something you realize when you go back home, and I haven't been home for, this summer it'll be like 3 years, so I'm also anxious to do that.
I mean, especially right now with everything that's going on, the USA might not be the prime destination. But
no, it is, but it isn't. Like I'm really looking forward to when I'm able to head back there and visit everybody. But it's a mess right now.
Yeah. Do you think the Karls is a place? Because I know for me personally, I felt like as a university, they tend to give you more room to kind of develop yourself as a person than a lot of other universities would. They don't swamp you with work. It's a lot of like learning from each other, learning on your own, kind of no classes mandatory to attend, just, do the readings and things. That's important. What do you think about that? Do you think that like, did you feel kind of like the Karls made you reflect a little bit more about who you are? Did you feel that really kind of autonomy where you said like, I have to make what I want out of this study program, I have to develop myself, kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did. Like, there's obviously a lot of freedom at the Karls to like write about whatever you want. You can write literally about anything you want, usually as long as everything's backed up and academic. So that really kind of like leaves you a lot of leeway to kind of look into different things that you actually might be interested in, like I was getting at earlier. But yeah.
It's a tricky one.
It is. It's a lot to think about. I mean, I think I've always been a pretty like I've always participated and I've always wanted to help out. So that was also something that was really good at the Karls. That was like, we need volunteers for this, or we need this, or we need this, and it was just like, once you kind of pitch in, you're going to be cool with the custodians, you're going to be cool with these people, and the more connections you have, just the better. Because, and that's something also, I mean, that gets back into culture where it's like, if we meet somebody from Spain and we've been working on our Spanish, then we can help each other, and then, who knows who they're going to know and who we're going to know, then where we can help them out. Because I think it's been talked about on some podcasts that I watched that, you're more inclined to help people that you don't know, which is kind of ironic. If you know somebody, if you know somebody and you're like, hey, I need to take a vacation or whatever, and you might have just won sweepstakes and got a free vacation or whatever, but you can't take it because you need a babysitter. And basically it was talking about that, this group that used to meet, I think it was New York or some city. And when you ask it to a big group of people, like a large audience, and you say, hey, I want to do this, then a lot of the people are just like, well, I have something that could probably help you. And it's just kind of amazing how people can be so inclined to help people that they don't know. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm like, well, it makes sense to like network as much as possible. And like, obviously we're not always in the mood to like walk up to random people and be like, hey, what's going on? But at the end of the day, volunteering is a great way to do that, because then you're just showing your face and showing that you're willing to help and participate. So
would you say that like the intercultural, like the way that Karlshochschule is so intercultural and like meeting people of different cultures, I mean, obviously in a degree like intercultural management, that plays a huge role, right? Do you think you would get the same experience you'd gotten if you were surrounded by just Americans, for example? Or like, how big of a role does that really play for you?
For me, it was super important. I mean, it wasn't the primary reason why I chose to go to Karls.
What was the primary reason?
I just really liked, basically, it was like a landslide for me. So I found out about DAAD.de, which is basically the German education like database. And so I searched through there for, at first I think I was looking for global business or something like that. And then I kind of stumbled upon that major, the one that I did. And then I kind of went to their website, and their kind of intro video really spoke to me a lot. And I was like, that's kind of me in the video. I'm like, I want to get out there and do something with my life. And I'd rather it be intercultural and work with people from lots of different places. So, I mean, originally I was kind of planning to go to New York City and study something along the lines of global business. And basically I asked them about, do you guys have any exchange programs or anything like that? And they had no idea. So like maybe 2-3 people per class or something had done something to that effect. And I was like, it's not the type of school I'd really want to go to either. It's great, the amount of exchange students we have at the Karls, and it really brings something else, something different to the whole atmosphere, because there's always somebody new to talk to, and somebody you might know through the grapevine or through connections, which is also pretty cool. So, where was I going with that? I don't remember now.
Yeah, how about how the Karls being intercultural, how that kind of, if you get the same experience,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different experience, because you have so much different input, when you come to any, political or cultural event or phenomena, then, different people are able to give their input, ideally, right? Because, now PC culture has kind of taken over. Say what you want about that, but...
Let's not get into that one. That's
Yeah, no, it's not. Okay. But basically, I'm more about having a dialogue, and, because there's tons of different cultures that are going to have different takes on different issues. And it's important that we hear and learn how to work our way through every one. It can't just be this one dialogue that trumps everything else.
Yeah, it's important to kind of hear all perspectives, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, what would be kind of your next go-to city to live in? I mean, you did, America and now Germany and Karlsruhe, Vilnius in Lithuania. Have you got another country either, or another place in Germany you'd like to go to?
would definitely consider, and me and my girlfriend have definitely considered Hamburg, but I mean, yeah, I'm kind of on the, not anti-Berlin, but I'm kind of on the anti-move to Berlin team. So like, it's just really, there's lots of kind of complex issues in Berlin, and it's just kind of not my scene. It's a great city, but kind of just a bit more interested in Hamburg and potentially, what's next to Düsseldorf? Cologne.
Cologne, yeah.
Cologne. So, yeah, we're kind of considering that. I've never really been to Cologne or Düsseldorf, so it sounds really weird when you say it in English. But yeah, I mean, we're really kind of considering Netherlands, because I guess what the way that we kind of arrived at that was the lifestyle in Germany and in German-speaking countries is definitely different from others. It's kind of like this whole work hard, play hard thing, where there's almost equal time spent working your ass off as there is to enjoying, whether it's partying or going to the gym or whatever. I don't know if that's considered play, but yeah, I think I didn't really want to get away from that. Like, I didn't really want to go to a big city where it's just hustle and bustle and there's nowhere to go lay out in the park and listen to music and have a beer or whatever. So I think the lifestyle and the speed of life is really important, at least to me. So that definitely had an effect. And also, it's also about whether or not you're willing to learn a language. It's nothing against any language in particular, of course, to have a PC disclaimer, but it's just about like what languages you like and what languages you feel comfortable communicating in. And I mean, German is definitely a huge jump for you if you're not a native German speaker. Maybe it's good or bad, I don't know, but to learn yet another one is also like, it takes years. I mean, something like Romanian or Czech or something like that is like, yeah, it's not too easy. So it also definitely plays a role in like where you want to move. And there's also the kind of thing, I think it's the linguistic turn or something, where it's how language kind of dictates culture and vice versa. So yeah, it definitely also played a role. So, I mean, obviously, the UK probably would have been an option, but
not anymore.
With the way things are going now, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit complicated, but yeah.
Makes sense. How was your experience learning German when you moved here?
I actually didn't speak too much German when I moved here at all. Like, I was using Duolingo, so I could say like Milch and Katze and dumb, useless things pretty much. I mean, I love cats, but like,
they can be dumb and useless sometimes as well. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I couldn't really even ask where the bathroom was or order a beer or anything when I got here, and I kind of made my way through that. But I also I kind of approached it the same way as you would in France, where nobody speaks English really. So like going to work at the pub, I just spoke my worst German all the time, and I slowly worked my way up, and especially with the local dialect. Well, I guess there's a couple technically because we're right on the border of the next state, but especially with Badisch, it was kind of discouraging sometimes because you'd be like, okay, I totally got this. I know a couple words now. I can say sentences, and then people come at you with a really difficult to understand dialect, and they're like, why don't you speak German? Why don't you understand me? So that's a big thing here in Germany that a lot of people, especially internationally, they don't really know or understand, is that there's quite a few German dialects. So, and they can really be a hurdle, especially like if somebody says something to you in dialect and they say, it means this in High German, and you don't know what it means in High German, then it just makes you feel like 3 steps behind, quite literally. So, yeah.
It's like the first time saying what is kind of okay, but the third time you say what, it's like very embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
So
High German.
Yeah, so I was talking about locations, language.
How do you think the kind of the Karlsruhe culture, like I bet you've gotten to know some local bands here, right? And some local musicians.
Yeah.
Do you see any way that like the Karlsruhe culture has kind of influenced them, or like how would you, do you think if you moved away and you heard some German band play that you might be able to go, those guys are from Karlsruhe, I can tell,
Well, with the goofballs that I know here, maybe, but generally no. But there is definitely a kind of je ne sais quoi about Karlsruhe where you have different circles, and a lot of the guys and gals in the music scene and people, they're just, a lot of them know each other. So it's like, that's kind of a comforting thing, and a lot of them are really very open and welcoming. Once they hear you play an instrument, they're like, hey, let's get into the practice room, jam, and hang out a bit.
Yeah. So you'd say if someone was moving to Karlsruhe, like just pick a few concerts, start talking to people, and all of a sudden.
Definitely. I mean, the advice I always give people, especially since I started working in an Irish pub, is first time you go to a new city, just go to the Irish pub, and especially if you're an English speaker or if you speak English, then
or if
just
the
head
Irish
there.
pub is as wonderful as Linden's Irish pub, Gartenstraße, Ecke Hirschstraße.
No, but even my mother came over for our birthdays in the same month, so we went to Amsterdam, of course, as you do, and I think it was the day before my birthday or something. I was like, well, let's go to the Irish pub. Let's ask the people that work there, like, what's up, like what bars or pubs or venues we should check out. And sure enough, we found a really, really cool one, which is The Cave. So big shout out to those guys in Amsterdam. I need to make it up there again. But it was really, really cool, and we spent a lot of nights in there. So I'd say that is a really useful tool. Like I think people know that already. Just go talk to your bartender kind of thing, because they usually know what's up. But where was I getting with that?
Yeah, your advice for someone moving here. So like I'm a musician, I'm living in the States, I'm not sure if I should move to Germany or not. I want to try and get to know the German scene. How do I do that,
Yeah, I mean, I think you don't even need to drink, because I think the no drinking thing here is a little bit more welcoming. Like it's a lot more acceptable to go to the bar here and just order a cola or whatever.
But a lot of bars in the United States also have alcohol-free beer, because I know every bar in Germany seems to have alcohol-free beer, and that kind of...
Here it's a thing that I really can't hack, because it just doesn't taste right to me. But if you approach it like a soft drink, then it's totally fine. And it's definitely something that's a lot more common here than it is in the States.
I've tried to order one in Ireland before, and I won't forget the eyes that looked back at me.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, I think... coming to a new city, then definitely head out to a couple shows and get to talking to people. Obviously, outside venues and stuff, people are pretty open and welcoming. I think that's pretty much the case in most places. I mean, without getting too much into drinking culture and whatnot, it's
So outside of the uni, outside of the normal uni and your job, did you do any kind of extracurricular stuff at the uni? Did you sign up for any kind of student initiatives or something, or did you kind of do any work with culture centers organizing events or anything like that? Any kind of extracurricular experiences you'd like to talk about? So
of course, as part of the degree program, you're required to do, introductory business project and an advanced company projects, of course, which one of them we did together. Great experience. And
what are they all about? I have no idea. Please tell me what these things are about that we did together.
So I can't even remember. The first one I did was for a tech startup in Karlsruhe, which they had thermoelectric generators or something. Mm-hmm. It was actually we found out after the fact that they had already kind of tanked, filed for bankruptcy and whatnot, but. It was a really good experience, nonetheless.
What did you do for them? Like it's consulting, right?
Yeah.
So do they come to you?
I forget what we did. I think we had a marketing plan or something. Yeah. It's a while ago now. But then, of course, we did ours together, and that was about about planning when it came to. You can fill in some of the blanks. But,
so the World Cafe we did together.
Yeah, World Cafe. So everybody kind of comes in, and everybody puts their really innovative ideas on pieces of paper with a marker, kind of old school and brainstorming kind of esque. But it was basically with the surrounding area. So what do they call it? The Tech Valley or Karlshochschule? What is it? Yeah.
Technology region.
Yes. Yeah, so they're basically trying to somehow, I forget what the word they're using now, but they're trying to like make it like Silicon Valley, but like in Europe, Karlsruhe. You know,
I really hope it doesn't become like purely electronic music. Really. Technology region,
the second Berlin, yes.
Yeah. What do they call that? That famous German band with the "We Are the Robots" song. Does anyone know? Anyone in the audience? Kraftwerk.
There you go.
I think we just had, yeah.
So it was with the surrounding region being Pfalz, so Rhineland, what is it? Rhineland-Palatinate?
Yeah, Rhineland-Palatinate, yes.
Baden-Württemberg.
Yes, that one doesn't get...
And over the border. Oh, no, it was actually just Karlsruhe. It wasn't Baden-Württemberg. So it was just Karlsruhe and then over the border in Alsace.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting, and it was a good experience because it was the advanced company project. It was taken a bit more seriously, and overall a good experience. But you were asking also about initiatives that I volunteered for, and I was in the, what do you call it? Like basically student council.
Stuf
was basically student council for, I don't know, I think a year and a half or something like that. But even before that, I was usually volunteering, and because I guess time management wise, I didn't really want to overextend myself in my first year. I wasn't in it yet, and then a couple friends of mine were in, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it, and officially, and that was really great. I mean, it's a lot of planning and organizing parties and stuff like that, and school events, and it can be a lot of fun. I mean, it's like a lot of things, like where you get out what you put in, and it can be a lot of fun. So
I never went into stuff, but I remember I did help you with a barbecue once or something like that. So
yeah, I mean, it's, just like organizing with anything, it's about who you know. So if you know somebody that can like knows how to barbecue meat or knows how to DJ or just whatever, then you just hit them up, and well.
You said a few times that like it's more about getting to know people and like kind of networking, communicating with people is important. Do you think that's one of the reasons why you came to the Karlshochschule? Because I know the Karlshochschule has a lot of like learn from each other, interact with other students. Do you think that, I mean, people complain about the amount of group work. I would never complain about it, but do you think that the Karlshochschule kind of makes people communicate and network with each other more than, let's say, a regular university would?
Yeah.
Was that a consideration before you got there, or is that just a thought I'm having now in hindsight?
It definitely has like a clinic style classroom atmosphere compared to a lot of universities where you have lecture hall and you're just sitting there and taking notes, or maybe not. So it's definitely, it doesn't force you necessarily to be collective or to participate, but it kind of also does. So I know that both of us have had classmates and friends and whatnot from, for example, Asia, where they have a very different classroom atmosphere. As I understand, the teacher will kind of more rarely kind of like call on you and stuff like that. So you're not really asked for your opinion too often. And so that's kind of a hurdle for people that come from different backgrounds when it comes to academia or just being in a classroom. Yeah, so that's definitely, that's a thing. But I really enjoyed it for that reason, because if I'm not really like doing something with my hands or writing down or, just being active, then it's harder for me to retain information. I mean, yeah. I mean, all the same, I guess you're kind of getting to that, what is it, theta or whatever state where you're like, yeah, taking in information, but are you? You know what I mean? Like when you're watching Netflix and you're like, I think I have to rewatch that episode because I was kind of drifting off in another direction. Yeah, I wasn't really retaining anything.
Or when you've been like studying for too long, going for an exam, and you're reading things and you just have no idea anymore.
Yeah, like you're trying to cram, and after a certain amount of time, it really doesn't work. It has the opposite effect.
The same thing as well with the company projects, right? Where you got the experience of like really applying what you've learned, kind of interacting with the real world.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the company projects, it was a lot more experience Not necessarily with doing a marketing plan, because anybody can do a marketing plan. You just go on YouTube and look up how to do a marketing plan. But but it's more about learning how to communicate with the client. And I guess I know for a fact that a lot of people in the business world don't necessarily know how to do that, and kind of take charge and be maybe not take charge, but be assertive when it comes to talking to clients, people that you're working for. And, people always have these weird things like the customer's always right, which is one of the most ridiculous things that we have going right now.
You deal with a lot of drunk customers, I assume, on a daily.
Yeah, I mean, no, but yeah, to think that the customer's always right is just ridiculous, because then they just do whatever they want, and that doesn't work, especially when you're serving them alcohol.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are you glad that you kind of took the step of moving to Germany? I bet it was like, it must have been a little bit scary, you know what I mean?
So, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm really happy about it. I mean, I wouldn't, if it wasn't for all the hitches and obstacles that I've had in my life, I wouldn't be here right now, of course, because you have that whole, like, everything
Butterfly
branches out.
effect
There's
and-
exactly, and everything could potentially change, and from every little decision you make. But I also think that people have momentum. So I think, hopefully, even if I made a couple different choices, then I still would have ended up here. But yeah, where was I going with that again?
Yeah, are you happy that you came here? Any
Yeah.
regrets, that kind of thing? Well, like, no regrets really.
No
but-
regrets.
No regrets. No, but you think it was the right choice for you? Do you think like that? Would you encourage other people from the States, if they're like on the fence, to say, "Fuck it, I'm going. You should come to Europe, kind of try it out"?
I think you should absolutely get out of your hometown. I mean, for some people that's enough. Some people it's like you just stay in your hometown, and maybe you find a partner, maybe you have some kids or adopt or whatever, and get a regular job, and that's all good and fine. Man, I'm happy for you if that's good
If
for
it works
you.
for you, it works for you. Yeah.
But if you're not happy, like I was, then this was before even a certain presidential candidate was voted into office, and I was still pretty upset about the situation. Not really too happy. So for me, it was the best thing to sell all of my stuff and move to Europe.
Yeah.
But it also just, you kind of have to get a few things through your head, such as, if everything goes to shit, then I can always, I can always go back home. Like, I'm always going to be, it might not be the easiest thing to walk back into my old day job and say, hey, yes, that didn't work. Can I have my job back?
Yeah.
But like, if you realize that that's the worst thing that can happen and you can live with it, then you can literally just be like, okay, I'm going to sell all of my stuff and I'm going to leave and take a chance. And I mean, for me, it was like, well, here's my shot. Like, what if not now, then when, So yeah, I'm definitely glad I did it.
Yeah. I mean, it's worked out pretty well for you, and you've also made a second home of this place, I guess. I mean,
Definitely. I'd definitely say like, yeah, and especially like the pub, that's like my living room. When I come back to Germany, I'm like, yep, straight there.
you should have asked Anki to sponsor this episode of the podcast,
She got a shout out. She's good.
Yeah. Go on, Lindens. Yeah. What would you say is your kind of advice for anybody, if someone's from the States wondering whether they should come to the Karlshochschule or not? What would be your kind of bit of advice for them, or just generally advice for people who are interested in music or interested in new cultures, that kind of thing?
Well, I guess in the whole vein of advice, I was also volunteering sort of thing for the school and working as an ambassador to the U.S. So that means I was dealing with a lot of the questions and students that were coming from the U.S. over to Germany. And I'd like to say that there was like 3 pieces of advice, but there's not. There's a lot. Like, there's a lot of different things that you need to realize how to do or how it works here, because I mean, it's really not too much of a cultural jump from the Northeast. For me, it didn't feel like too crazy. Like, somehow the first time I was in Germany, I was like, this kind of feels like home because of the way like the landscape looks and whatnot, compared to France. But Yeah, it's definitely not just one piece of information. There's lots of different things, like even just getting your first flat. So you have to go and probably be interrogated in, you know, in the flat and asked all about your life and all that fun stuff. No, it's actually a great experience, especially once you learn to speak German or just some. And it can be a really, I think, great experience, especially like living in the city is totally different here. Like I think I sent a picture looking up the street, like out from the balcony to my buddies in the States, and they were like, nice apartment complex. And I was like, nah, that's the street, man. Like that's how it looks here. It's really, it's nice, it's chilled, and yeah, it's a lot different from living in a US city. So
yeah, I can't imagine. Cool. Have you got any Karlsruhe bands you'd like to shout out that you mentioned before? You're weird and wacky.
I definitely give the standard shout out to Astrokraut and Zero Zeros, because they're two kind of bands that tend to hang around Linden's, and we tend to make little field trips and go see them play. So they're definitely two of the ones just off the top of my head. But yeah, I guess there's kind of issues right now with the scene here because of the acquisition of a lot of the practice rooms. Yeah. So it's kind of curious to see how that's going to work out. And we were just kind of talking the other day about how gentrification, I mean, maybe you'll have some input on this, but gentrification is when certain areas are kind of concentrated on, and then kind of, the scene, if you want to call it that, is kind of forced out. So it's usually really, really geographical, right? But what's happening in the city now is that a lot of the practice rooms all over the city are being acquired. So that's kind of weird to see, and I mean, it's kind of probably influencing the rhetoric of a lot of the art of the headlines, where it's talking about where will the scene be, shipped off to, because. If it's one thing if one neighborhood is being focused on and being acquired and whatnot, but if the whole city is kind of being, trying to be acquired, like in the art space as a whole, then it's like, what do we do with that? Yeah.
We don't just need to move somewhere else. We need to create a place that we can move to first, right?
Yeah.
Good. And I guess, I think as long as KOHI's doors get to open again one day and P8 finds a new place, they still need a new place, I think. And, all of these kind of local areas, I think as long as the culture centers are there, then there'll be room for culture, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I mean, the thing is that I think the city also needs to realize that, like, how important culture is. It's kind of this, what's the word, hedonistic sort of approach, where you're, looking to see that your citizens are they have somewhere to feel at home and to feel satisfied. And, when you're you've taken care of yourself and you've loved yourself and been part of a community, and you have all those kind of levels met, like we bring it, what is it? Maslow's, pyramid or whatever the hell. But then you're able to be a better,
and they kind of underestimate
brother, friend, just citizen, and you're able to, maybe in your day job you're able to better, what's the word? Be more improvisational, or
even just
contribute something more to business or society or whatnot. So
there is really kind of a it can go missed. People miss the kind of knock-on effects that having culture and having arts and music have, but. Again, that's a longer talk.
Definitely.
So I would say thanks a million for your time. It was I really enjoyed talking to you. I hope I wasn't too provocative with my questions or anything.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And thanks again to KOHI and the Karlshochschule for sponsoring this, making it happen. I've been Edward, I've been your host, and I hope you, Derek, have a very nice Sunday for the rest of the day.
You as well.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.